Hello, NCPL players and spectators. Today we are on number 18 of the draft analysis. We're going to be looking at Laurel Hayes' team. Laurel's been around for quite a long time now, and she's made a lot of improvements. Happens to be one of my favorite drafters in these bigger drafts. She tends to draft a really reliable team every time, and always gets top score or very close to, because there's a lot of balance on her team. Now there are some things on her team, of course, that are lacking, and I will mention those things like I do with every team. But yeah, overall, I rated her team a 43.5. I think that's the highest score I've given. So just right off the bat, guys, the score. I mean, the score is the score, but that doesn't. I'm not rating how the players play. I'm not rating their play style, the type of team they drafted. There is a lot of other things that go into team building and performance and all that stuff. The score does not always represent performance and, you know, everything about the player and the team. So this is just a broad analysis, like I state in the below the YouTube. Yeah, so 43 and a half. Laurel drafted Aerodactyl as her captain, Noivern, Comfey, Quillfish, Hitmonlee, Megmortar, Megabanet, and Rotom Frost, and Claydol. So a very fast team across the board, and a very offensive team, or can be offensive. So I scored her offense a 7.5. Now she has a ton of offense on her team, but the thing is her offense, while there's a lot of setup and a lot of mons that can hit relatively hard, a lot of them actually do need setup to do a lot of damage, barring, Draco Meteor from Noivern, and Fire Blast from Magmortar, and Close Combat from Hitmonlee. But that's why the offense is not lower, because of those things. But if you're not using those moves, these Pokemon don't hit quite as hard. I know Hitmonlee has base 120, base 120 attack. I just double check. Yeah, base 120 attack. So it's hard to kind of explain. I feel like, so for example, Aerodactyl is not going to sweep a team without a Dragonance, and even with a Dragonance, there are some Pokemon that can still live Stone Edge or Dual Wing Beat. Noivern, some Pokemon are still going to live even after like a Throat Spray boost. You can immune Draco Meteor, so Comfey needs that Calm Mind. Quillfish, Swords Dance, Hitmonlee. I mean, I will say Hitmonlee is probably the scariest one in terms of Unburden and Close Combat. That's just absolutely terrifying. You can run Adamant and not have to worry about the speed. Magmortar doesn't have any setup. Does have 383 special attack if it's modest, I believe. Megabanet does have 460 attack, I believe. But it doesn't get any, like I mentioned in the analysis before, it doesn't get like Poltergeist, which if it did, the offense would be rated higher for sure, because if you don't have a normal type, this thing will probably take 50% off every single Pokemon. And it has Prankster with Will-O-Wisp. It would just be so dang strong. And then of course you have Rotom Frost with Nasty Plot, which is actually really scary. That Bolt Beam combo. Unfortunately, it's not Ice Beam, it's Blizzard, so you got that 70% accuracy. And then you have Nasty Plot and Calm Mind and Claydol as well. So I think the strongest points to this offense are what I mentioned: Close Combat, Hitmonlee, Draco Meteor, Noivern, Fire Blast, Magmortar, things like that. So, so going over the offense individually, though, we have Noivern. Noivern getting Dual Wing Beat, Aqua Tail, Crunch, Pursuit, Dragon Claw. I was naming Aerodactyl, my bad. Aerodactyl getting Dual Wing Beat, Aqua Tail, Crunch, Pursuit, Dragon Dance, Dragon Claw, Fire Fang. I actually think I like Hone Claws a little bit better than Dragon Dance because Aerodactyl is already fast. You could just run a Focus Sash if that's the thing. Because this Hone Claws is going to help you with the Stone Edge. And the Stone Edge, the thing is not a lot of things just like outright resist Rock. As we've seen Tyranitar be a big threat before when he had Dragon Dance because Stone Edge and Dragon Dance is so strong. But I think the Hone Claws is actually better for Aerodactyl because it can boost the accuracy and then really, really make that sweep reliable. For example, when Laurel got the Dragon Dance against me, I believe she missed the Stone Edge, and while I don't think it was detrimental, that Hone Claws would have helped, and Aerodactyl outsped everything on my team anyway. So I feel like the Hone Claws would help a lot more. Plus, it would give the dual wing beat that added accuracy as well. Not to mention with the other moves that are low accuracy as well. I think all the Fang moves are 95, which, I mean, I've seen people miss those actually more often than you'd think. And then Aqua Tail, obviously, not having a full 100% either. Hoping the accuracy of Stone Edge 2 allows you to get more chances for crits, which is really strong in draft. It's really annoying when a crit hits, especially on something that's supposed to be able to eat, 2 attacks and hopefully take out the Pokemon in the first attack, right? But that's what Aerodactyl has. Then we have Noivern. So I'll get into the defensive stuff when I go into the defense category, but I wrote down everything for these Pokemon. Noivern getting... Oh, I do want to mention Aerodactyl has Unnerve, which is actually a really kind of glanced over ability, especially in draft. I think it's actually really good. It allows people, or it allows the Aerodactyl to attack without any worry of those super effective berries, as we've seen in my last match, are extremely potent. And if you can bypass those, it's actually a really good ability. So, not to mention it stops you from eating citrus berries and Iapapa's berries and stuff like that, or pinch berries, I think they're called. But Noivern having Frisk and Infiltrator, super, super strong in draft. Being able to see your opponent's items allows you to immediately know what set that is, or very close to what the set is going to be. If you see Scarf on anything, it's either 4 attacks, depending on the Pokemon, or if it's a Rotom, 3 attacks Defog. It's going to want a Volt Switch. It's meant to, and you can see what that Pokemon's meant for as well, depending on the item. So, and then Infiltrator just being great to bypass boosts, or is it just bypass screens? I think it's both. Oh yeah, sorry. I was thinking the boost as in substitutes. But Infiltrator ignores substitutes and Reflect and Light Screen, as well as Safeguard, Mist, Aurora Veil. So, but the important ones being the screens and the substitutes, which we see is very, very irritating and very potent, and people bring them a lot. Whether that's sub setup or sub toxic, they are sets that are brought often. So that really deters people from bringing it, since Noivern can just Draco Meteor right through it and not have to worry. But Noivern having Air Slash, Hurricane, Boom Burst, Focus Blast, Dark Pulse, Shadow Ball, Psychic, Heat Wave. I do want to mention Throat Spray Boom Burst is actually a really strong set. It allows, Boom Burst is 140, 100 accuracy. You get a boost after it. It allows Noivern to be extra threatening. If you really want, you could just U-turn out too. It's like nothing to worry about. Especially if you're not having to worry about rocks. And Laurel's team has so many different ways to get rocks off. Unfortunately, she does have 4 Pokemon that are rock weak. That's 4. So heavy duty boots is very important on her team, and rocks are going to be coming almost constantly. So I can see why Throat Spray might not always be an option, but that is something to note if the opponent doesn't have strong stealth rockers. The other thing I do want to mention is Noivern can also be a Dragon Dancer. He doesn't have bad attack. For this type of draft, it's not super great, but it's 70. And the thing is Noivern has recovery as well. And and it can be something that can, you know, throw your opponent off. Your opponent's thinking bringing an Assault Vest Pokemon to deal with Noivern and Comfey and Magmortar, and then all of a sudden the opponent switches in to deal with that Noivern, and he Dragon Dances instead. And then you got dual Wing Beat, Brick Break, Dragon Claw, Leech Life. I think that's it for physical moves. Iron Tail, Outrage. Yeah, so I mean Outrage as well. Steel Wing, and of course like U-Turn. Wild Charge as well. So not to mention the Leech Life is actually kind of notable as well, because you can get that recovery if the opponent doesn't have anything that's resisting bug. All comes down to prep. If you see that the opponent doesn't have any bug resist, Dragon Dance Leech Life might be a really good play. So next we have Comfey here. You know, we all have seen Comfey and what Comfey does. Comfey's basically drafted every single draft because it's got so much utility and what it can run. Natural Cure and Triage both being great. Triage being probably the better one in my opinion. You got Draining Kiss, U-Turn, Giga Drain, Calm Mind, Dazzling Gleam, Stored Power, and where's it? Is that it? I feel like there's something I'm missing on Comfey here. But anyway, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about the Calm Mindset and the Triage. So I mean, that's a super threatening set. But again, Comfey needs to set that up to be threatening in offense. Comfey needs that Calm Mind to set up and get that Draining Kiss going. And then, you know, not to mention it completely walled by, you know, steel types and stuff like that, or mons that can roar Will-O-Wisp or whirlwind it out. With the addition of Hidden Power though, it makes this much more potent and much harder to deal with, because you can just run Draining Kiss and then Hidden Power, because you don't need that Giga Drain if it's not a grass type. If it's not a if you don't need to cover it with Giga Drain, you can just run Hidden Power, right? Because you don't need that double recovery. If you need to cover something else like a steel type, you run Hidden Power Fire or whatever the case, right? And then we have Quillfish, Swords Dance, Waterfall, Poison Jab, Aqua Jet, Explosion, Scale Shot, Throat Chop. So definitely a threat. With Intimidate, it makes it easier to set up because you're definitely going to be forcing out switches a lot. And that water poison is not a bad typing. I mean, the Earthquake weakness really sucks. I actually didn't realize that for until I was prepping. Is that Quillfish is actually weak to Earthquake as well, which kind of sucks. But the stab moves are nice. So Poison Jab and Waterfalls is actually not bad. So, and also having Aqua Jet is nice. Some priority in there. This team also has good priority between Quillfish, Hitmonlee, and the Triage. It's a really hard team to outspeed. So we have Hitmonlee next up on the list here. Hitmonlee having Bulk Up, Close Combat, Knock Off, Stone Edge, Poison Jab, Bullet Punch, Earthquake, Fake Out, Sucker Punch, and Throat Chop, and then it has abilities Limber, Reckless, Unburden. So Unburden being the scariest one by far, but Reckless still being good with, you know, I think works with High Jump Kick. Not 100% on that one. Definitely not the one I'd be using in my opinion. I'd probably be using Unburden and Limber. Limber actually being really good because, you know, in this team you kind of want to Thunder Wave everything. You know, like when I brought T-Wave, that's the idea. Her team is fast, so bringing Thunder Wave is important. You're expecting a Thunder Wave, you have that Limber Hitmonlee, you switch in Hitmonlee, immune the Limber, and you fire back a close combat and maybe get a kill or some good chip damage on whatever might be having to come in, right? So Hitmonlee being a great offensive Pokemon in draft, and not to mention, I also didn't know this until I was prepping, is that this gets Rapid Spin, so it just makes it all the much better. A offensive Pokemon with Rapid Spin, adding on to the amount of Pokemon on our team that can deal with hazards. So really good Pokemon on the team. next, the fireman himself, Meg Mortar. I think this was a T5 pick, which is insane. I honestly think it should move up, but I just want to double check here before I talk out of my bum. Yeah, T5 pick. Has Fire Blast and Thunderbolt, Teleport, and Scorching Sands. Pretty good stats all around. I will read them for you guys. Meg Mortar having 75 HP, 95 attack, 125 special attack, 95 special defense, 83 speed, and 67 defense. So everything is really good except for the 67 defense. And this Pokemon having base 83 speed, it's good enough. It puts it right above. Let's see. The timid nature. Yeah, puts it right above that 284 speed tier, which is actually really nice to be able to outspeed because there's a lot of Pokemon in that 80 speed tier. So it puts it at 291. So surprising that this is still in T5, especially with what I'm about to mention. It can be special attack or physical. Yet to see the physical in any draft yet, but I mean, it's totally viable. It's actually super viable. I'm surprised it hasn't been run yet. So that set, I will read out all its other moves first. It has Fire Blast, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, Scorching Sands, Mystical Fire, and Psychic on the special side. And then on the physical side, we have... Now, I'm surprised this hasn't come yet. Totally viable. Her team has enough ways to get this thing in safely and do this. Belly Drum. Belly Drum, Flare Blitz, Thunder Punch, Brick Break. No, I couldn't read my own writing there. Low Sweep, Iron Tail, Cross Chop, and Earthquake. So I mean, it's got basically the same coverage and special. Obviously, it's the base damage is less, but you're getting maxed out attack for that. So, and like I said, it's above that 80 speed tier, so it makes it totally viable. Its stats are good enough. Having those stats that I've just read to you, 75 HP and 95 SPDF. You could totally just spread your EVs out and see what the matchup is like, and then be able to run a set like that. I mean, geez, Robin ran it with Hypno, so and Meg Mortar, kind of has a little bit more potency now. Hypno can run. Yes, I think Hypno's almost the exact same actually in terms of stat wise. I just want to check that for you guys. Yeah, almost the same build, a little different, but so Hypno has 85 HP, Meg Mortar has 75. He has 70 defense, Meg Mortar has 67. He has 115 special defense, Meg Mortar has 95. So I mean, he is a little bit bulkier, but Meg Mortar has 95 attack. So this is gonna hit. It's gonna hit a lot harder. Not to mention it has Flare Blitz stab, so Psychic type doesn't have a 120 base stab move, so this thing easily sweeps a team, and I think it gets Flame Charge. Yeah. So cute Belly Drum, Flame Charge, Flare Blitz, Earthquake, I guess, or Thunder Punch, depending on the matchup, or whatever you need. Pretty strong moveset there, so definitely I hope I see this at least once in my time here. Very strong set. So but I won't hang around on them too much. We're going to move on to Mega Banette here. So mentioned Mega Banette a lot in Paul's. So having Prankster makes it really strong, really hard to deal with, even if its defenses are not that great, which are actually not too bad. Being able to Will-O-Wisp those defensive options away, or those offensive options that are going to come in, or Toxic them, or Taunt them, getting that Prankster priority, so it's really annoying. But Mega Banette having Gunk Shot, Shadow Claw, Knockoff, Calm Mind, Pursuit, Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak, and then the Disable Hex set it can also run as well. But the set that I mentioned in Paul's, I'm gonna mention here too, because guys, it's super potent. You just got to do your research in things in the matchup. So it has Prankster Cotton Guard, and you could do Rest, Sleep Talk, and all three of those moves are priority. So getting that priority Sleep Talk will give you priority Cotton Guard and priority whatever move you run after that. So priority Shadow Claw or priority Nightshade or priority knockoff, whatever you choose it to be, it's priority because the Sleep Talk gets boosted by the Prankster. So not to mention just the ability to run that, it should be scaring people, especially being a ghost type, and you know, I don't think there's like a lot of normals that are gonna want to switch into it. You have Meloetta, you have Chinchino, Odino. I mean, there's a decent amount, but these Pokemon generally don't just want to hard switch into it. He'd probably want to scout first, and by that time, you know, you might already have taken out that Pokemon. So, very viable set with Mega Banette. I really hope I see it by somebody. So, but moving on the list here, we have Rotom Frost. We know the Nasty Plot set, Nasty Plot, Thunderbolt, Blizzard, or Volt Switch. And then it's obviously defensive options we'll get to after. Claydol being a surprisingly good offensive Pokemon as well as defensive. Has real high defensive stats, so it can totally what's the word? It can run offensive because it doesn't need to be putting in defensive EVs if it doesn't have to. So you can run it offensively, kind of like an offensive spinner or something like that. But it has Nasty Plot, Earth Power, Scorching Sands, Psychic, Psyshock, Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Stored Power, Rock Polish, Calm Mind, Dazzling Gleam, Iron Defense, Body Press, Hex Toxic Set, Explosion, Future Sight. Very good offensive Pokemon if you need it. Unfortunately, this will add to one of Laurel's weaknesses on the team, which I will get into next. So moving on to the next category, we have defense, which I also scored a 7. So probably looking at this team, you're like, wow, this is actually really like good defensive team. Like why is it a 7? Well, there's a lot of things that I'm looking at in the defense too. I'm not just looking at like how bulky a Pokemon is or you know, what defensive moves it has. The defensive Pokemon like, okay, so for example, if Claydol, Aerodactyl, and Noivern are brought, and a water move is coming for Aerodactyl, or an ice move is coming, you can't switch in Claydol now. Obviously that's a no-brainer, but I'm just saying it's adding to the weaknesses. Rotom Frost, you know, it's a rock weakness. Aerodactyl's weak to rock, Noivern's weak to rock, Magmortar's weak to rock. So these defensive Pokemon aren't exactly the types that I would say like kind of like round out the team. Now, of course, the Earthquake weakness on the team between Quillfish and Magmortar, Rotom Frost, Claydol, Aerodactyl, Noivern all cover those. So that's great. The fighting weakness from Rotom, Mega Banette can cover that. Claydol can cover that. You know, the Intimidate Quillfish can cover that. Comfey can kind of cover that. But you see what I mean? Like, there's a lot of coinciding weaknesses between the offensive and defensive Pokemon, which in my opinion is a little bit worse than having all of your offensive Pokemon weak to the same thing, you know, because you can deal with that with switches. But if your defense and offensive Pokemon are sharing the same weaknesses, it makes it really hard to switch in, and you need to start baiting your offensive Pokemon in. And at that point, you start guessing wrong, you start losing Pokemon, you start losing the match. So, So on the defensive Pokemon, we have Comfey, we have Quillfish, Rotom, Frost, and Claydol. Now, I will mention that Mega Banette can be a defensive Pokemon, and I think Noivern can also be ran defensively. I ran it defensively before myself, if the matchup is right. So Noivern having reliable recovery makes it great, and U-turn is awesome as well. And that Dragon typing is going to allow it to resist some things that the team might need. You know, the fire for Rotom Frost or something like that, right? The water for Aerodactyl and Magmortar. So think it. Now I'm second guessing myself. I'm all screwed up. Yeah, it still resists water. And the bug type for Claydol as well. So, but so first off, we have Aerodactyl's defensive options: Stealth Rock, Roar, Roost, Toxic, Defog, Whirlwind. Really great lead. Really great captain actually. Being able to run setup set, lead set, a Stealth Rocker, a Whirlwinding, Toxic set. I mean, Defogger. It's a good Pokemon all around. Being able to be offensive or defensive, or a lead or a utility, whatever it is. Noivern also having similar options: Roost, Defog, Switcheroo, Tailwind, Toxic, U-Turn, Taunt. I know these are more utility based and not like defense, but they got to be noted because they round out the team, and they are options that are going to help the team if Laurel needs to turtle up or for whatever reason. So, and then you have Comfey, which is a big defensive Pokemon on the team here. Having Natural Cure, you can soak up all the statuses and switch out. But Triage is just great. Having that +3 priority, that's more priority than Extreme Speed. So having that plus priority, Draining Kiss, Recovery at the same time is really great. You can just run, and Comfey's fast enough to just run Aromatherapy and not have to run Natural Cure and switch out. But having Natural Cure and U-Turn is still really great. Then it has Synthesis, Defog, Aromatherapy, Leech Seed, Tailwind, Trick. Leech Seed was a surprising move that I didn't really, I guess I've overlooked it many times. Would be extremely annoying on Comfey. Leech Seed, Draining Kiss, that would chip down and wear down a lot of Pokemon. A lot of defensive Pokemon that are going to come in and try and deal with Comfey. You could definitely run Leech Seed and chip them down that way. Definitely a cornerstone to this team's defense. And the next Pokemon that I'm going to mention is the other cornerstone to this defense, which is Quillfish. Having Intimidate allows her to switch it in and force switches out, which is really great, and get spikes up, Toxic Spikes, Taunt, T-Wave, Destiny Bond, Haze. The important one is getting spikes or Toxic Spikes up, or a free Thunder Wave or a free Toxic is really, really strong. Forcing those switches out, obviously, as well, if rocks are already up or spikes are already up, is really good too. So Comfey and Quillfish being able to switch between each other is really great. So and then Hitmonlee, I already talked about his small defensive options, which is Rapid Spin, Toxic, but you're generally going to run him more offensively. Magmortar having Flame Body, which is really annoying to people that want to just attack. You always got to be wary of that 30% burn from Mortar if he's coming in. Now, he doesn't have very good defense, which kind of balances that out. But at the same time, you definitely don't want to be burned. I definitely wouldn't take 70% on Magmortar and a burn on my Passimian. I wouldn't take that trade. I'd rather just switch out. Not to mention, if you're U-turning with physical Pokemon, it's really, really annoying because it's such a big deterrent. You don't want to just keep U-turning on this Magmortar and proc that Flame Body and then burn your Pokemon. So actually a really, really good thing about the team here. Having that Flame Body is super annoying. But he also has Taunt, Toxic, Will-O-Wisp, Teleport, Clear Smog, so Teleport being super strong to get those offensive setup mons in, like Aerodactyl, Noivern, Comfey, Hitmonlee, especially because her Pokemon are not extremely bulky. That Teleport is super good. Being able to run 3 attacks and Teleport is also really great. Magmortar will force a lot of switches because its special attack is so good and its coverage is so great, so having Teleport is a really good option on it. And like I mentioned with Mega Banette, can definitely be a defensive Pokemon, having Will-O-Wisp, Hex, Toxic. Can't remember if it had T-Wave. But having that Prankster disable, Prankster Will-O-Wisp, it does have T-Wave. Prankster T-Wave, Prankster Toxic, just super annoying Pokemon. So, not to mention you can run Trick-Room as well. Screech was another thing that I wrote down. Pretty annoying to lower the opponent's defense by 2 and then hit it with like a Shadow Claw or a Shadow Sneak or something like that, or force a switch out. So it would be pretty annoying to deal with. Since I don't think like Mega Banette has a 4 move slot syndrome problem, you could definitely afford to run it. But a really annoying defensive set would be Will-O-Wisp Hex. It would be extremely annoying. So, because I don't think Mega Banette doesn't have bad special attack, it's definitely viable. Yeah, Mega Banette has 93 special attack. So I mean, you run, I don't know, max speed, max HP. Hex is getting boosted to 120, 130. Sorry, 130 plus the burn or toxic, whatever you feel like. I think the burn's more viable. But or you could run max HP, max special attack, and run T-Wave Hex, and then disable as well, being super annoying. They hit you with an attack, and then you get the Prankster disable off. That'd be extremely annoying to deal with. So, but generally more like a utility Pokemon. This Pokemon isn't going to be switching in and absorbing attacks, like we're going to see Comfey do and Quillfish and probably Claydol do. So, but Rotom Frost having next on the list, Rotom Frost having Defog, Screens, Will-O-Wisp, T-Wave. Defog being probably the most notable option here. It'll allow Aerodactyl to be ran more offensively, which definitely I think this team wants to do, since Aerodactyl has really, really great setup options and really great sweeping potential, especially having that 394 speed. Definitely I think it's one of the fastest Pokemon in the draft. I don't think anybody drafted any 400s. Sean did draft Ninjask at the start, I believe. I traded him. I think. Oh, Excelgor. Okay, somebody has Excelgor right now in the shield, in the Sword division, but I think it's the fastest in the Shield division. So I mean, minus Hail. So. But yeah, so that's about the options Rotom Frost has. Generally, this is gonna be a Scarf or Heavy Duty Boot, Defogger, and then we have Claydol here, with Stealth Rock, Rapid Spin, Teleport, Screens, Toxic. So a really good defensive mon, having really high base defenses. I think it's in the 100s. Yeah, 105 defense and 120 special defense. I mean, this thing's an absolute beast if you put it all into defense and HP. But like I said, this mon doesn't have to do that. It can definitely run more offensive sets and be a little bit more threatening in that regard. The teleport being super great for this team as well, getting in things like McMortar for free, Hitmonlee for free, Comfey in on a nice switch, or Noivern and Aerodactyl to set up. I mean, the teleport is super good for this team. It really helps the offense get going, because like I mentioned, the offense kind of wants to set up, minus, like close combat and Fire Blast from Magmortar. But Aerodactyl, Comfey, Mega Banette, Rotom, Noivern, those Pokemon generally want to keep getting in for free, getting chipped down, or setting up and, sweeping or dealing damage that way. So as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, the reason why this defense is at a 7, though, you got 3 ice weaknesses and 4 rock weaknesses, sharing between defensive and offensive Pokemon. I understand some of these things are covered between the Pokemon, but sharing 4 weaknesses to rock, and then 3 weaknesses to ice and 1 a ×4 to ice, it'll make team building hard. And it'll make Ice Beam and Rock moves very spammable. So that is why this defense is at a 7. By no means is it a bad defense, just it shares some weaknesses with their defense and offensive Pokemon, which I think is going to be hard to deal with for Laurel. So, but next on the list we have Speed, which is a 10. I mean, this team across the board, like Matthews, is very fast. Nobody's really slow on this team. I think everybody's above 70. So I think Claydol being the slowest actually at 75. Unless I'm thinking Quillfish is faster than he is, but I'm pretty sure Quillfish was moderately fast. Yeah, 85. So Claydol is definitely the slowest at 75. Yeah, so everybody's above 75, which is quite a high speed tier for a team to have all around. And then plus having things like Noivern at 370, Aerodactyl at 394, and then Triage with Priority, Bullet Punch, and Aquajet, and Prankster. This team just has so much speed control. It's going to be so hard to try and speed match this team, and picking and choosing who you're going to run Scarf with to deal with. Because, I mean, she can also run Scarf on those Mons as well. So, a very fast team. Like I was mentioning, have Aerodactyl at 394, Noivern at 370, Triage, which is a +3 priority to Comfey's recovery moves, which is Giga Drain and Draining Kiss. I'm not sure if Synthesis counts. And then you have Aquajet on Quillfish. You have Bullet Punch on Hitmonlee, and you have Prankster on Mega Banette, which I also explained how you can use it offensively in the offensive section in Sleep Talk, since Sleep Talk procs the Prankster. So, not to mention this team has ways to set up its speed or get in free switches in the reverse type of way. So with Teleport, you have U-Turn, you have Dragon Dance in Aerodactyl, Dragon Dance in Noivern. I think Quillfish has agility, but not needed. And then Unburden in Hitmonlee, which is super, super crazy. I mean, there's speed all over this team. So, and having that speed paired with, things like Rapid Spin or U-Turn, or the Draining Kiss on the Triage is very strong. Can't mention it enough. This team is extremely fast. Going to be very, very hard to work around. I expect a lot of T-Waves or a lot of bulk against the team. The thing is the team is so fast. It can set up subs. It can set up bulk ups. It can set up iron defenses. It can set up Calm Mind stored powers. So it's a really hard team to deal with on the speed tier, because you're not. It might be hard where you're gonna build. So against this type of team, you probably just want to keep attacking it. You don't want to give it any chance to get one step ahead of you, otherwise it's going to always stay ahead of you. So very good speed tier drafted team. And next on the list we have hazards. So I kind of mentioned the hazards throughout the offense and defense, but I mean, wow, this team has hazard control all over the place. It has hazards on a lot of Pokemon as well. It's almost like not worth it to bring hazards against this team. And bring something like screens and try and pressure Laurel to defog theirself, because it's gonna be impossible to get rocks up. I mean, you got rocks are gonna be on your side of the field, or spikes or toxic spikes are gonna be on your side of the field no matter what. Like, it's for sure one Pokemon is gonna have it. So I'll get into that. But you have Stealth Rock on Aerodactyl, you have spikes and toxic spikes on Quillfish, you have Stealth Rock on Claydol. And then you have Rapid Spin on Claydol, you have Defog on Brodem, you have Rapid Spin on Hitmonlee, you have Defog on Comfey, Defog on Noivern, Defog on Aerodactyl. I mean, Jesus, like Laurel definitely does not want any hazards on her side of the field, and that's totally evident in her team, since those rock weaknesses are totally there. I can see the deterrent in that. Hey, I got all these rock weaknesses, but go ahead and try and bring rocks, because I got 9 different ways to deal with them. Waste a move slot on them, by all means, right? So, but yeah, lots of hazard control on this team. Lots of status to be dealt as well, which I like to mention in the hazards. You got status with Rotom, you got status with Mega Banette, you got Flame Body on Mega Mortar, you got Intimidate on Quillfish, you got Toxic Spikes. I mean, this is a hard team to deal with on the hazard level as well. It's definitely something to worry about when preparing for this team. So very, very good hazards and hazard control. And then last but not least, we have Momentum, which I also which I rated a 9. So Momentum is actually, for once out of all my analysis, is actually based off of the Volt Turning. You got U-turn on Aerodactyl, you got U-turn on Noivern, you got U-turn on Comfey. You have teleport on McMortar, teleport on Claydol, and you have Volt Switch on Rotom. So there's a lot of different ways to get in these offensive Pokemon for free and start chipping you down, wearing you down, or getting sub setups up, or getting rocks up or spikes up, and a lot of ways to force switches out. So there's just a lot of ways for this team to build momentum offensively, and really start making the opponent guess and predict, and then hopefully predict wrong. And that's what's going to lead to Laurel getting big sweeps or a lot of chip down, which is very important to this team because they want to keep the opponent. They want the opponent to not set up rocks, right? And if you're setting up rocks, Laurel's Volt turning, and then getting in a free Pokemon like Comfey with Calm Mind, Sword Powers, or Calm Mind, Draining Kiss. So generally, it's just rocks are really deterred. So by the momentum as well. If if you have somebody setting up rocks out, and Laurel's got to switch out, but the Pokemon that might be coming in might be a setup Pokemon. It's really hard to make that decision. Do I set up rocks, or do I need to switch, make a double predict, or do I need to attack what's coming in, and scout, see what's going on? So definitely, but the momentum also comes from setup. I mean, there's setup on Aerodactyl, Dragon Dance, Throat Spray, Dragon Dance on Noivern. You have Calm Mind, Sword Power on, or Draining Kiss on Comfey. You have Swords Dance on Quillfish. You have Unburden Bulk Up on Hitmonlee. You have, Mega Banette doesn't get Swords Dance, but Mega Banette does get Calm Mind. So I definitely think that's a super viable set. Calm Mind, Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split if you wanted the recovery. And then you could just run like Shadow Ball or something like that if they don't have any normal types. Definitely a viable, annoying as hell set to deal with. So, and then you have Rotom Frost with the Nasty Plot, and you have Nasty Plot Calm Mind as well on Claydol. So Claydol being really, really extremely potent with that Nasty Plot. Lots of good coverage on it. Not weak to the rocks, so you don't have to worry about bringing heavy duty boots. You can run something that might be help you set up better. So definitely Nasty Plot on Claydol, very, very nasty. But yeah, overall the team is 43.5. Like I said, Laurel drafts really good teams. It's what allows her to do well. Not meaning that I didn't mean anything malicious by that. I just meant like Laurel drafts really good teams, and it's always gonna help her propel in victory. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you on number 19.